يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي.
Say you cannot say cannot to anything. It's possible that you and I can become potatoes.
Hold on. Let me see. No, to me, it seems rational to say that our understanding of things will change as time goes on. For me, that seems rational. But to say you're going to turn into a potato on your own will in a million years is absurd for so many reasons.
Is it possible?
No.
Why not?
Because you'll be dead. You're a human being. You can't change.
Listen. Why can I not transform into a potato? You into a banana?
It's not possible.
Why not?
Because it
So now you're saying you can't, even though your knowledge of the science of today is very limited. Well, you need to be consistent.
I understand. No, I agree with that.
So if you are
I
consistent,
agree with that. My logic isn't consistent when you say can humans turn into bananas. I get that's where my logic breaks down, and I fully concede that.
So we can become a potato and bananas?
No.
You cannot say no. You can say only no as far as our knowledge goes today, but in the future,
I'll qualify it. As is, from what I know and understand today, you will never become a potato or a banana or anything other than a pile of bones.
But it's in the future, it's possible.
Who knows?
You have to say,
it sounds absurd, and I agree.
But according to your principle of understanding things, it's possible in the future. We don't know today, but it's possible.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, that's what you believe.
Anything's possible.
Right.
But it's extremely unlikely to the point of.
It's not about a question about how likely it is. So
But you know. Sorry, what was your name, brother? Sorry.
Mansur. What's your name?
Noel. Sorry.
Nice to meet you.
I know, Mansur, you ain't gonna become a potato. But I understand the point you're trying to make, and I see exactly at that very point where my logic breaks down, and I get it. But for me, it doesn't seem absurd to say that in time, our knowledge of things grows and gets better. But then at the same time, I understand that absolutely nothing remains absolutely nothing. The absence of nothing. And I get that. So for me to then say, when you say, do I become a potato? I see where the logic breaks down. But we know that that's absurd because you're going to become a pile of bones. You're going to go back into the earth. The worms are going to eat you first.
I didn't suggest this kind of possibility. Instant transformation into a potato.
No.
Your atoms rearranging. Okay? A lot of thermodynamics involved, a lot of chemistry involved. They rearrange and you become a banana, I become a potato. You're saying it's impossible, but I'm saying according to the principle that you are now using in this discussion, it's possible.
Yeah, I see, as I said, I can see and see where my logic breaks down. The problem is, I'm not well versed enough in science enough to say point A, point B, point C. But our experience tells us, sorry, when you die, we rot in the ground, or you're cremated. There's been absolutely no instance or no example that we can give that says a human being is transformed into anything other than a pile of bones.
But you are again using the current science,
yes, sir,
and judging the future.
But no, I said knowledge evolves. What we learn changes. We learn more as time goes on.
In the knowledge in the future, it's possible that the things that we're describing is possible.
Yes, sir.
But now you realize how absurd this kind of thing is.
Yes, sir. No, I conceded that from the
imagine
beginning.
Now, okay, just understand one point. So there are infinite possibilities of what we can become and transform into.
Yes, sir.
So I can become a potato, a watermelon, a banana, grapes. That means infinite number of things. Are you suggesting I can be all of that and you can be all of this? Then it will say,
I'll be honest. I can play semantic games and say yes,
this.
because if you die, you're into the ground.
No, I'm not talking about these kind of things.
But I'm saying
in reality, exactly as it is.
Worms eat you.
No, not that.
Use the same worms to feed.
I'm saying instant transformation into
as we know, current science just outright flattens that.
So once you have a principle where yes, it's possible in the future that I can become a potato, you can become a banana, and so on. That means. I said, what about me becoming an orange? And you say, me becoming an avocado. And you say, yes. That means in the future, everyone has possibility of becoming everything else at any one time. But even how absurd you won't be.
Yeah, I said, no,
at any
I
one
agree.
point, you
I
can't
agree.
have that.
No,
So all of this tells you, look, at one point we have to say, look, these things are irrational to even to accept. We cannot accept that just because there is such a thing called probabilities and likelihood and possibilities. Even in mathematics, there is a number of what is possible. Okay, probability. We don't say it's probable. Say like 10 to the power minus 50. That's probably a figure. Statistician. I don't know, right? I'm not a mathematician. We have to be real. So real means, given that the knowledge that we have today, we understand quite clearly something cannot come out of nothingness. So from our perspective today, there has been
something that's always
something
been.
always. Whether this universe has been always, or the one that originated this universe has always been there always. It makes more sense to believe the originator has been there always, who is the uncaused cause. Because if it was the universe, you would say, who caused the universe, and who caused the universe, who caused the universe, and eventually come to a point, you have to come to a point where this cause is uncaused.
I understand that. But again, I told you from the beginning, I struggle with that concept because an uncaused cause is the only way you can get out of...
That's the only rational concept.
No, uncaused
whether you struggle with it,
the same.
No.
They're just as absurd.
Let me give you an example.
Go on.
If you're in a boat called the Titanic, remember Titanic, that's sank, right? And you're saying, no, I'm not in the boat. I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna live. The boat is sinking. Water is up to your neck. No. You can deny and you can be struggling. Look, you are so rich. Because that's why you ended up in the Titanic. You are so rich, you're so happy, luxury life, you came to the Titanic. At that point, it is very hard and you will struggle to accept the reality, which is you are sinking. You are sinking. The fact that we exist and there has to be something always, we may struggle, but that's the reality. We might want to say, no, it's not true. It's not true.
No,
it's
at no point. I've never said it's not true.
No, I'm saying we might struggle to accept it. How can it be? How can it be? But the reality is, this is how it is. We are in this Titanic of this world. And the fact is, there has to be always something which is uncaused. We can struggle, your mind will be blind, like how can I accept that? But that is where we as Muslims, we say we surrender to this uncaused cause because, as finite human beings, we know this is where it goes. We know that this is the case. This is why a Muslim is one who surrenders this. Is nothing worthy of worship, nothing worthy of our glorification and gratitude. This glorification that is deserving, except to God only, the creator, the originator of this universe, originator of everything. Yeah. So that's why when the Quran says, look, He is the one, al-awwal, the first, and He is the last, the al-akhir, meaning there is nothing before Him, there is nothing after Him. And God describes badi'us samawati wal ard. He is the originator of everything. So if something exists always, it essentially have inherent properties and attributes. I don't have to give them, it possesses it. By being there always, it inherently has those attributes.
I understand that concept. By definition, if you're a creator, you create. That's an attribute. No, it's not. That's by definition what you do. But where I was struggling with these other Muslim brothers, they was telling me God is just, He's merciful, and all this stuff. And I said, where are you getting that from? They said, from the Quran. And I'm like, well, those are attributes. And I said to them, according to the Islamic view, is God inconceivable? And they said to me, yes. So I said, then isn't it absurd to say He is just? He is merciful. I know it says it in the book, but applying attributes to something you can't comprehend to me is insane.
So this is where clarification is needed.
Yeah.
We cannot totally comprehend God, but we can understand God exists, the creator, the originator. Let's call Him the originator to simplify things so that you don't struggle with the concept. A creator.
I get that, yeah.
The creator who's uncreated exists. So that's something that we have to understand first of all. Does it make sense to us? Of course it does. If such an entity exists, uncreated creator, by definition, we have been created by this creator, of course. Right. So we cannot know the attributes of this creator because we are finite, limited, dependent.
And that was my point.
Now, the only way we can know is what? When this creator informs us about its attributes.
Now that's where we're going to have a problem.
Right.
Because before you came, the Christian told me you was wrong.
No.
The Christian told... No, because that's the thing. The Christian told me that Jesus was talking to her.
Listen.
No, she told me Jesus was talking to her.
In principle, do you agree? The creator, when the creator informs the creation of who it is or who he is, that's the only way we can be sure about the attributes. Not the creation speculating about the creator.
Yeah.
In principle.
In principle, if you're a
whether
theist,
this communication,
yes.
whether this communication came from through Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Sikhism, that's a different question. But in principle, the attributes and qualities and the descriptions of this creator, it is only possible for us to know in its reality when it comes from the creator itself. Because I can speculate what this creator is, but that will be my speculation.
Of course.
And as my speculation could be an error.
Yeah, that's
right. But when the creator communicates and informs us, then we know that this is what it is, because that's what it's describing. For example, you are a person, maybe people don't know you, right? But you became famous for whatever reason, but they haven't seen your face.
No, fame's overrated.
But when you explain, look, I am this, I am about 5.5 foot tall, I'm this build, then people start building up the knowledge about you because you told them now who you are. So when we're talking about the creator, when the creator informs us that he is the absolute, the perfect being who is hearing and seeing, then we know that this is his attributes. Yeah? That's how the Quran describes. The Quran informs us about his attributes. So now if you bring all the religions in the world...
When you say the Quran informs you of his attributes, you're saying the stories in the Quran, you come to... Because of the actions taken by God in the Quran, you're concluding that because God does A, he is A.
Not like that.
No. Is that
it's totally different. The Quran is such a book of guidance that you'll be amazed when you read it. Have you read it yet?
No, sir.
Right. When you read it, you'll be amazed. It describes who he is. It describes his actions, but it describes...
When you say that, do you mean he says, God, I am green, or I like gold?
For example, I am God, the first and the last.
Right.
I am God, before me there was no one else. I am the one who creates, I am the creator. I am the one who forgives. I am the one who is just. This relational attributes. I am the one who loves, or I am the one who is loving one. I am the one who is the most kind. So God relates to us the relational attributes and tells us who he is. Okay. So he also shows in action how he is. He demonstrates his justice, his mercy, that he is the creator and so on. Okay. So he tells us who he is and who he is not. That's the difference. So when we examine different revelation, claims of revelation, different books or scriptures or sacred books, you can examine what it describes who this creator is. So if a book describes this creator is someone who puts his son on guard on front of the door to guard his wife, he's going somewhere and says, let no one pass this. And his son didn't listen, and he came back and he became very angry. He chopped the head of his son, and then he realized his mistake, my son. And he looked around and he found an elephant, chopped the head of the elephant and put the elephant's head on his son. And that became Ganesh, god of the Hindus, right? The god of economics. You as a rational human being will say, that doesn't describe to me the eternal, perfect creator, originator of the universe.
One.
Because this eternal creator, he has a son, and he doesn't know whether his son's going to look after him, and then he... What is this? What is all this? He has a wife? Does it all make sense? Because this uncause cause can only be one absolute entity, one. There cannot be more than one.
Okay.
There cannot be more than one.
Okay.
So when it describes more than one, you know it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
I know you know already, but just to illustrate your point, to make my point clearer, suppose now there are two absolute beings. One of them says, I want Noel to spin around 100 miles per hour on this spot. And you keep spinning because he's the absolute. But there's another absolute creator, originator. He says, now, I want you to be static like that and speaking to me. He's able to do that because he's all powerful by absolute by definition. What's going to happen to you? Are you going to keep on spinning? Are you going to be static and speaking to me?
No, I think at that point,
possibilities, right? Either none of these things happen would mean none of them are absolute. They failed miserably to do what they were intended to do. They didn't have the power to do that. Or you
cease to exist.
Then none of them.
If they are ultimate,
if you cease to exist, none of them are absolute, because they wanted you to spin without being non-existent, or be totally static without spinning. If you are static and you kept talking to me, at least from these two absolute entities, the one who wanted you to be static demonstrated his absolute power, okay, but the other one failed miserably, and vice versa.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You cannot have more than one absolute. That's why polytheism is not rational. So when
polytheism is lovely,
not rational.
No, it's lovely.
It could be lovely.
They got many gods, and they all do different things.
Look.
That's all. It's delegation.
Look. When you have many gods, are they absolute? If they're absolute, imagine now. Absolute means what? Absolute knowledge.
Yeah. No.
If one of
I hear
them,
what you're saying, but I'm saying. For instance, like the ancient Greeks had God of the sea, God of the sky, blah blah blah. They could be absolute in their particular field.
And they're not absolute altogether. When you're absolute, you're not saying, oh, by the way, I don't know what's happening there. There's another God. Let me think. What is he thinking? Does he know what is he thinking? The other God? If you're all knowledgeable, you should find out. Can you destroy the other God? Say, okay, I want to totally be destroyed. Can he destroy the other God?
That depends. If that's one of his attributes, then yes. If that's what the God of the sea can do.
Does he have the power?
If that's what the God of the sea can do.
Does he have the power?
I wouldn't know. Because we're talking about things that don't exist.
An absolute being has absolute power. That's by definition, you're perfect in your attributes. Because you didn't come into existence, you have this inherent attributes. So when this universe is here, it demonstrates this absolute entity is a possessor of power.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So his power will be unbound, unlimited, absolute.
I understand.
Yeah. So polytheism, from that sense, is not rational.
I understand why you're saying that, because you're obviously a monotheist, and that's fine.
For a reason, because it doesn't make any sense to believe in polytheism. Because polytheism...
No, but for them it does.
No, it's not about them. It's about you are a rational human being. As a rational human being, can you believe in it?
Not all the time rationale should trump everything.
Oh,
sometimes
then
just
this
relax.
wait.
Sometimes, but sometimes just relax.
In reality.
Yeah, but no, sometimes...
If we suspend our rationality, then you can believe in anything. You can talk about anything.
Alright, for instance, some guy just walks out and punches you in the face right now. Naturally. No. But wait a minute. Is that rational or irrational for you? If Mansur, if he's hit in the face and you jump to his aim, is that rational or irrational? Right. So it's irrational for you to stand back and let him deal with it himself?
No, it depends on my relationship with him.
No, but what I mean is, you're saying it's rational for you to jump to his aid. I'm saying it's irrational for you to jump to his aid and let him deal with it himself.
I think there's,
no, but we're
conflating the very concept of rationality. I think you're using a very different concept altogether. When we talk about rationality, we're saying that the reality around us, we will assess, we will examine this reality as it is. We are not going to say, for example, oh yeah, in this reality, can you see the pink flying elephants there? Yeah, you can't see it. Well,
there are pink flying elephants, not real ones. Have you been to the fairgrounds? There's those pink ones. But I'll be honest. Let me tell you. I understand where you're coming from. I do. Honestly, I do. But to me, I don't know. And also, when you say uncaused cause, I can't get there, because for me No. Infinite regression for me is...
This is not infinite
It's the same as magic. It's
is
the
not-
same as magic. It is.
Imagine...
Because if God has always been, that means he comes from nowhere. That's the
He
only...
doesn't have come from anywhere.
No,
He's there already.
No, but that's what I mean.
It's not about coming.
He's always been. That's to me, all I hear is magic.
You know, this is difficult for you to grasp.
Yes, sir.
Just like as I
Struggle.
The example I gave you
I
about
struggle.
Titanic.
For me, yeah.
People will struggle. The
No,
reality,
anyone,
maybe,
anyone
the reality.
no,
Look,
they all knew that ship was going out. At some point, they knew.
yeah,
you
they
know what I
knew.
mean?
So you already know that there has to be always something because there is no other alternative.
No, I don't
What
already
alternative are
know
there?
that.
What alternative are there?
I don't know. But
You know,
that's the
as
thing.
a rational human being,
Yeah.
you know this is
No,
the
as a
only
rational human being, as a rational human being, it would be wrong for me to say yes, man. So you know what? Actually, you're right. The reason why it would be wrong for me to say that is because I've spoken to Jews, guys from Kemet, Christians, those. Oh wow. Those wow. See now, for me, they're irrational.
They're emotional.
Yeah. Now for me, I'm like, well, no, for me it's magic. Uncaused cause
When you
always
say-
been for
when you-
me.
When you say magic,
it's
you know
magic.
what do you mean by magic?
Like smoke and mirrors, fairy dust,
Nope, none of
and
that.
all this stuff.
None of that.
But that for me, that's what in my limited thinking, and I'll be honest, I can see that's what it is. That's what
Well,
I
I
hear.
would not say this is infinite magic. I would say, look, the reality, for example, you know, some people might say, look, that tree doesn't exist. You might say that, right?
That's it. Which tree?
That-
That one.
No, that's right.
That one there.
You might say it doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but the reality is, independent of you making that statement, the tree exists. That's the reality we're talking about.
Agreed.
So you might struggle yourself,
Agreed.
look,
Agreed.
I don't accept that.
No, but don't forget what you said isn't true because other religious faiths will tell you that you're wrong. So whether it's your
again-
your reality or not.
No.
Yeah.
The reality is, in any religion you go to, they cannot say there wasn't always something. Because the other option is there wasn't always something means there's nothing. So you have two camps. One camp is there's absolute nothingness, another camp is absolute
feeling
something
it.
always.
I'm feeling it.
So we can see that camp which is absolute nothingness,
Yes.
we have to reject it.
Yeah. But is it right to call that thing then God?
No. That thing that always exists, that's why I'm saying we have to say this thing which is uncaused cause is the originator of the thing that followed. That's what I said earlier on. Let's
The
make it something.
uncaused cause is the originator.
Is the entity that brought about us now.
See, when you say us, do you mean the species?
No. This reality.
Oh, everything.
Because that uncaused cause, the first cause, was the cause of us being here.
Yeah, but who caused the cause? It's uncaused. Who caused the first cause?
There is no
it's
first
uncaused.
cause.
No, there is.
They cannot have another cause.
Exactly, and that's the problem. Because because look, you're saying, for
Look,
instance,
I just want to make
your
one point.
parents
right?
came together. They
No,
made
one
you.
moment. I
That's
just
the cause of
No,
you.
wait.
Yes or no?
Excuse me, no. I want to make one point.
Go.
In any field of knowledge, there is a limit to the level of explanation.
Agreed.
At what point do you say, what's the explanation for that? For example, in forensic science, even in science, you say the water boils because of the Bunsen burner heating up the water. Okay, you can go on through that. But what's causing the Bunsen burner to heat it up? The chemical reaction. What's causing the... You can go
I see what you're
ad
saying.
infinitum.
No, I
But
hear
you
what
will
you're
have
saying.
to accept that there is a cause that is actually making the water to boil. How far that cause is, a cause exists.
Okay,
You
no,
cannot
I'm with
then
you.
say, you
I'm
cannot
with
then
you.
say,
I'm with
oh,
you.
the cause goes on and there is this.
No.
Likewise-
No, you can, but it's an insatiable waste of time and
Yeah.
it's impossible.
So
but,
you have to
but
admit
at the
there is a
same
cause,
time,
there's
but at the
some
same time, I'm still not willing to just concede that.
We have to leave it
It's
there.
gone.
You have to
Yeah.
think about it a bit more because you are a very intelligent person and you
Well,
understand
well,
already. No.
I don't know.
From the
But that's a
discussion that
nice
we have,
compliment. Thank you. That's
yeah.
nice.
So ponder a bit more on this.
Yeah, I will.
And open
To
up
be
the
honest with
Quran.
you,
Open
if
up the
I'm-
Quran,
Yeah.
which you haven't read. You will see the Quran actually speaks to you and answers those questions rationally, reasonably, that you and your heart and your mind can be content with.
I'll be honest with you, Br-Mansur, let me be real with you. The chances of me opening the Quran is nil. Let me tell you why.
No.
Let me tell you why. I don't need religion. Any religion.
Do you need answers?
No.
about this course?
No.
Why we are here?
No.
So you are quite happy when you die and that's it?
Yep.
What if you found out there was something else awaiting for you and a purpose which you didn't fulfill?
I'm fucked.
Well, that's your choice.
No, but that's real.
No, that's your choice.
But
no?
that's real, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's your choice, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
so,
sir.
So, if this is your choice, this is
Because
all up
don't
to you.
forget, if I die,
The Quran, when we read the Quran,
Yes,
it
sir.
gives us certainty and tranquility in our hearts about why we're here, what we're doing here, what's going to happen after our death, and is it life eternal afterwards or not.
Okay.
So we have certainty,
Yeah.
and that certainty gives us tranquility in our hearts in this life as well as what we have in the hereafter.
I'm okay with uncertainty.
That's up to you.
I really am.
Take care.
Listen, you look after yourself. All right.
يا لغتي عربية حسبي بأنك منطقي وبياني عربية قلبي